gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's September the 2nd, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented as always by Life Wallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. And Matt, we're sitting here, I guess about 36 hours or so away from the opening kickoff of the 2022 football season. So I thought today, we've got tons of stories on the website. You'll see them all. We take a look at a lot of different things, Jalen Knighton, and some other things. But I wanted to take today's show and just have like a real heart-to-heart. We're not going to be positive. We're not going to be negative. Negative Nancy is taking the day off. So chill yourself out, okay? Just chill out. Make everybody out there happy that's been trashing you all over the place. And
what more damage can be done to this? There's nothing else you can do.
And now let's put on our neutral hats. Cane shades are packed away in the drawer. Negative Nancy's at the beach, or out stone crabbing and getting arrested, or whatever. And let's focus on this team and try to get to the nitty gritty now of what might happen this season, which is what I tried to do in my preseason column, which is on the website today. I'm going to throw out my thoughts. You chime in with your thoughts. I'm going to go position by position, starting with the quarterbacks. And obviously, Matt, they're in really good shape at quarterback. You got Tyler Van Dyke, who some people want to say is one of the better quarterbacks in the country. Now, I looked at the Heisman odds yesterday, and you see that he's like number 11 in the Heisman odds in terms of candidates for the Heisman Trophy. Then I started looking at a couple mock NFL drafts, and there's some people that do not forecast him to go in the first round next year, which is going to open up a whole another can of worms for us to talk about in a few months. So we're here in Miami. We watched what Tyler Van Dyke did to finish last season with the 6 straight 300-yard games, et cetera, et cetera. Now he's got a new offense, got a new offensive coordinator. He's got a different group of receivers. Rambo's gone. Harley's gone. 2 of his security blankets. And Tyler Van Dyke's got to put it all together all over again, starting from scratch this season. Behind them, Jake Garcia. I know you and I both feel good about Jake. And then forget about then, because any team that gets to their third quarterback is in trouble. Okay, so we're not going to debate should Ja'Cory Brown have gotten a look at receiver like I threw out earlier in camp, purely because I think he's a really good athlete who's just going to be standing on the sidelines this year for the most part, unless he gets some garbage time on Saturday. So. Matt, that's my thoughts. I'm assuming you probably pretty much agree with me. Your thoughts on quarterbacks?
Yeah, there's nothing to add. We've clearly stated all along, there's no concerns at quarterback, and there won't be any concerns for me, I don't think, even after this year. It's a positivity party at quarterback for Matt Shodell, period.
Yeah, I'm not bullish on the whole thing if Tyler leaves, but, we'll worry about that down the road. That's not an issue for this season.
I'm not even worried about it.
Yeah, now's not the time for us to talk about it.
Quarterback's not a problem for Miami, period. This year, next year,
yeah,
it's not going to be a problem.
Well, because of the 2 freshmen coming in my opinion. But and that's if they live up to their expectations, which we'll have to see. But we're not going to waste our time on that today. So we're both good on the quarterbacks. All right, running back, I'm nervous as heck. I'm not. This is one place where I feel that this team this year is very exposed because they're really down to two guys that are top shelf. Thaddeus Franklin can be a workman-like back in college football. I don't think he's changing a game. Okay. I think Jalen Knighton can change a game. I think Henry Parrish has proven he's rock solid. He averaged more than 5 yards a carry in the SEC last year. I like the Parrish-Knighton tandem, Matt. If they both stay healthy, I think the Canes are fine. To me, Jalen Knighton, as much as anybody, including Tyler Van Dyke, is the one guy on this football team that the Miami Hurricanes cannot afford to lose, because he has different level athletic ability. He can change a football game, and he's going to get opportunities to do that with Josh Gaddis. That's proven. Josh Gaddis did that over and over again last year at Michigan. He is going to find ways to use Jalen Knighton and get him out in space and allow him to make plays. If Knighton stays healthy, Matt, I think he has a phenomenal year this year. Got to stay healthy, though, because Miami's offense cannot afford to lose his playmaking ability. Your thoughts?
I mean, I never talk about injuries because you just don't know. But look, you're asking the wrong question. It's not, will the running backs be good enough? I know they're good enough. My only question is, how does Josh Gaddis use them? You know, if Rhett Lashley was the offensive coordinator again, not that he's better than Josh Gaddis, I don't think he is, but if he was, we know how he would use these two running backs, and I think that suits their skill set. I assume Josh Gaddis will do something similar. If Josh Gaddis tries to turn this into the Thunder and Lightning duo we had at Michigan last year, but just with lightning and lightning, you know, I don't think I'll be thrilled with that. But if he uses these two guys the same way he used Blake Corum, just keeping both of them fresh throughout the game that way, great. And use Thaddeus Franklin as your power back. And you got to do some misdirection and some other things that people aren't, you know, Thaddeus comes in. It's not obvious he's running up the middle every time, you know, but we're going to find out. So my only question is Josh Gaddis, how he uses them, because we know the talent's there. I have no positive party. Matt Shodell has no issues with the quality of talent at running back with those three main guys.
All right, I don't have two sides of me here. One of my lights popped, so you know, my picture will look a little bit, you know, different right now, but we don't have time to worry about that. I don't agree with you. I think there's a distinct difference between the way Josh Gaddis and Rhett Lashley would have used these running backs. I think Rhett Lashley misused Jalen Knighton at times last year. I thought Jalen Knighton was asked to run up the middle into walls of bodies and take extra pounding way too many times. I do not expect Josh Gaddis to do that as often with Jalen Knighton. If he does, he's making a huge mistake because of what I just said previously about keeping Jalen Knighton, keeping his body feeling good and keep him out of traffic with all those big bodies collapsing upon him. And, you know, I think Parrish will be the workhorse on early downs. And I think Knighton will be the strategic guy that comes in that Gaddis often looks to hit big plays with. So not that Rhett Lashley didn't do that with Jalen Knighton. He did. But he also, to me, used Jalen Knighton way too much as an inside runner. So in that regard, I disagree with you. But I think for the most part, you know, you and I are on the same page with the running backs. All right, let's go to the wide receivers. The position, Matt, these guys took a beating in fall camp, and so a lot of it was deserved. You know, I've told the story, I think, on the Lamar Thomas show last night, where there was a practice where I was sitting there filming the receivers, you know, because we load up our subscribers with video when we're allowed to shoot at practice. And they ask us to limit our clips to 45 seconds. They don't want us showing drills in their entirety. And in a 45-second period that I was filming the receivers in a drill where they were just catching passes with nobody covering them, I saw 6 drop passes in that 45-second period, and I had to delete the tape. I said, I can't put this out. You know, I can't, you know. But I'm telling the story because they earned all the discussion that they had in training camp, and there was a lot of it. And then we got to the last week of camp, and I think there was some rehab efforts that started taking place. We started hearing a lot of conversation from coaches, from players, about the receivers are doing better. And in conjunction with that, Mario Cristobal in his press conference talked about how important it was to build confidence at this stage of camp with the team going into the season. So I think they're trying to build these guys back up. I think they've been knocked down all camp. I think they've been called a weakness of the offense. They've been called a weak spot of the team. Nobody has really stepped up beyond Xavier Restrepo that we've seen or been made aware of. So I think collectively, these guys are being rehabilitated and are trying to be given a clean mental slate to go into this season. Your thoughts?
I mean, all we know is that going into fall, I didn't really have any concerns at wide receiver. And then what we saw and what coaches said gave me obvious concerns, and should give every fan obvious concerns. And, great. They had 4 or 5 good days of practice. I'm very happy for them. I just hope that it continues. It can't be inconsistent. So, Xavier Restrepo hinted in his blog that they had a heart-to-heart with the whole receivers group. We've seen this stuff in the past. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We're not going to know till the games come. So I'm not going to sit here and say it's been solved or it hasn't been solved. It's a concern area, unlike running back. And by the way, Gary, I didn't mean to infer that you should run Jalen Knighton into the middle of the line. I think I've made it
clear. Said that
I said how Rhett Lashley used them. I didn't say on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, because obviously we've said in the past that's ridiculous. How he used them as receivers and as zone runners. That's what I meant. Anyway, the receivers, we don't know. I feel good about running back talent. I feel great about quarterback talent. I don't feel good about receivers. And, you're going to move on to tight end. So I'll move on to that now, because that group has to help the receiving game. Has to. If this receiving game is inconsistent, which it looks like it will be, there's so much talent at tight end. And I just wish Jaleel Skinner had sort of grasped things a little better and wasn't dropping the ball so much, because that's a guy that can take the top off a linebacker and safety in the defense, which you don't see many tight ends can do that. And I know they're talking very highly of Will Mallory, but let's face it, Will Mallory's never had more than, I think, 350 yards in a season, and he started all last year, and he didn't have more than 40 receiving yards, I think, the first 8 games last year. I'm not looking it up, but he had a very slow start. So, when Tyler Van Dyke is talking about everyone's got to double cover Will Mallory because he's the biggest threat in the receiving game, it gives me a little bit of pause.
We here at LifeWallet take security very seriously. Our data security team is working constantly to make sure that your data is not accessed by anybody who you don't authorize.
Hey, what's up, man?
Yeah, I'm
Excuse me, sir. Thank you.
I have a problem with Steve, and he's thinking about it, and I'll be talking to CC. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
We use leading technology standards like biometric data to make sure that only you have access to your data and your identity is protected. LifeWallet gives you access to your entire medical history and information at the touch of your finger, so that it can save you time and can save your life.
Data transfer complete.
All right, I'll transition to tight ends since you brought it up and you jumped ahead. The tight ends, it's Mallory and Arroyo. They have separated themselves by a lot. Skinner probably is number 3, but he's got a long way to go. They will work him in from time to time throughout the season, I think, because, let's be honest, he was a top-tier prospect, and he came to Miami expecting to play, ditched Alabama. So, I think he's going to play some, but didn't progress probably as fast as everybody would have hoped, and that's fine. I mean, he's a freshman. This is not easy for freshmen at all. This is a whole different deal, okay? And Jaleel Skinner in high school could do whatever the heck he wants, okay? He can't do that in college. So he's going to have to learn, and he's going to have to get comfortable, and I think he was swimming a little bit, and that inhibited his progress. But the good news is Arroyo got a lot of reps, and Arroyo looks like a total stud out there. I think he is going to be a phenomenal tight end. I think Mallory is a very good tight end too. I think Arroyo ultimately will be better. I think he brings the big frame that Mallory brings. I think he catches the ball very well. But he looks to me like a true NFL tight end, the guy that's going to play pro football. And, he'll get a lot of opportunities this year. I think Gaddis will use both of them a lot, and I think they'll both have exceptional years. And very exciting to see Miami with these tight ends. and then you got the 3 freshman studs coming behind them in I believe all 3 are coming in January. So assuming that holds together, the tight end position looks very good at Miami going into the future as well. With Arroyo will be back. This will be Mallory's last year, but they both should be a big part of the offense. Things should be all good at tight end. Khalil Brantley, Dom Morelli, not sure how they're going to fit in. We'll just have to see. We know Brantley was used at times as an H-back in practice. I don't know if they'll roll that out in games or not, but we'll just see how that goes. All right, what's next? Let's see. Let's go to the offensive line. And, Matt, when I did this season opening / prediction column, spent a lot of time thinking about the offensive line because it's been a position in past years that was maligned a lot, very similar to like what the receivers are right now. And it was deserved, okay? They were very erratic, not a lot of consistency. You had a situation last year where DJ Scaife was put in as the starting right tackle by Garen Justice. And then in the middle of the first game, he's being yanked because he wasn't playing well. And those Alabama players were having his lunch. And now all of a sudden he's a guard a couple weeks later. And listen, I mean, nothing was ideal at offensive line the past few years. All right. But, Matt, I started looking at it closely and, these guys are getting like they're older, like this is not a young position group anymore. And, Zion Nelson, who's going to eventually start at left tackle, he's a 4th-year junior. Jalen Rivers is a freshman, but he's a 3rd-year freshman because he had a redshirt year and he also had the free COVID year. So he's still a freshman eligibility-wise, but he's in his 3rd year in the program, in a college strength program, and he's been looking very good. Ja'Kai Clark, who's played 3 years undersized, is now a 4th-year junior, and he's starting to look like a college football player now. He really is. Like, we've had conversation in the past about him needing a redshirt year that he never got and all that. But he did a really good job in the offseason with Aaron Feld, and he's looking much more like a college football offensive lineman at center. Justice Oluwasun is a 6th-year senior who has developed himself into the 2nd strongest guy on the team. Amazing job in the weight room by him. And I think he's going to get rewarded with the starting job at right guard, it looks like. And then you got Scaife back to try again to play right tackle. He is a 5th-year senior. So, Matt, and then you go to the bench, John Campbell, 5th-year junior. So, there is some experience in this offensive line group that should start to play dividends when you factor in the better coaching that we believe they're receiving.
Look, I thought they were going to be a really good offensive line last year, and we were saying the exact same things last year. Look at all the talent that's coming back. Remember, they had Jared Williams back. They had Davon Donaldson healthy. Remember, we were like, oh my gosh, look at all the upperclassmen. Look at all the talent. And they averaged 3.7 yards a carry. Opponents averaged 3.9. Cam Harris was doing fine. In 6 starts or 7 starts, he averaged 5.8 yards a carry. Jalen Knighton, as good as he was, averaged 3.9 yards a carry. So, I'm not going to anoint them the greatest offensive line ever just because they're old guys. Like, I have to see it at this point. I thought the offensive line was going to be really good last year. It was not. So I'm not ready to say, that they're going to be great this year. I guess, we'll find out soon enough, but it's the same personnel as last year.
All right, I'm going to stand up for the old guys, but I'm going to also say that I don't disagree with you. I think, when I really, and you'll see all this in the column today. I started trying, people like a record prediction. I started thinking about okay, we are assuming what I said is true. We are assuming the offensive line is going to be better, and that because they are so experienced, they are going to be better. Matt is right. That is not a given. That is not a guarantee to happen. And that is going to be one of the wild cards of this football season that's getting ready to begin. The quality of the offensive line. How good can they play? How good can they be? How well can they protect Tyler Van Dyke? How well can they give Miami a running game that it's going to need? That didn't look so great at times in fall camp. The Miami defensive line is better this year. We can talk about that in a second. But Miami defense line is better this year. Running game didn't look so great at times in training camp. So when you take off the glasses and you put them in the drawer, it's a legitimate question. The offensive line, what kind of game are they going to bring to the stadium this year? That will be one of the variables of this season. All right, the defensive line, Matt, absolutely amazing the job that Mario Cristobal and the staff did in going out and getting reinforcements to make this an absolute, unquestioned, no room for disagreement strength of this football team. I mean, you go and you get a couple primetime defensive ends, Mitchell Agood, Akeem Mesidor. You get a guy that I think is going to be a really good defensive tackle in Darrell Jackson. You bring a guy in, a fifth-year guy who played a ton of football in the Pac-12 in Jacob Lickenstein. And then you bring a sort of sleeper guy that you hope will be a depth filler and help you a little bit, Antonio Moultrie from UAB. Now, that's 5 guys, okay? All who are going to play. You take those 5 guys and you mix them with Leonard Taylor and Jafari Harvey and Jared Harrison Hunt and Jordan Miller. And then you got guys like Elijah Roberts and Chance Williams trying to bust into this group and get some playing time. And you got a couple good-looking freshmen in Nigel E. Kelly and Cyrus Moss. Matt, this is a really good position group that they have put together on the defensive line.
I don't need to say anything about the D-line or the secondary. Those are not going to be issues. Those are both outstanding areas, I think, that they really shored up the D-line. The concerns I had on the D-line entering fall camp have been alleviated, in part due to depth, in part because I feel very strongly that Kevin Steele doesn't make things up. And if Kevin Steele is happy, I'm happy. And Kevin Steele likes his defensive line. I got 0 issues with that. Secondary, we knew was going to be a strength of the defense. So, you can name names and say how great they're going to be, whatever. To me, linebacker is still the question mark. You can't have the middle of your defense falter. And yeah, it's troubling to me that I thought Caleb Johnson was going to be the guy. And now I'm hearing, geez, Corey Flagg played as well as Caleb Johnson and might even start at the middle linebacker spot now. Like, that's not really what I wanted to hear. Maybe Corey Flagg has stepped up so much and he'll be great. I don't know. But all I know is last year he was okay.
Yeah, so, I'm not buying that.
Okay, well, we'll find out. We'll find out when they actually show us the depth chart on the field and we see who gets the reps in the first half of a blowout. But anyway, that's my thoughts on the entire defense. I'm going to your breakfast, Gary. It was nice having you, everybody. That's it. We're done. It's breakfast time.
I'll be more interested to see who's a linebacker against Texas A&M in a couple of weeks. But you mentioned the linebackers, and we all know that's one of the weaknesses on the team, maybe the biggest weakness on this team. But I will say this: the defensive line has been improved to such a degree and has been performing so well in training camp and is looking like it is going to be so good and so deep that I think those guys can mask that weakness at linebacker a lot. Now, there's going to be times where those guys might get exposed, and we might see some plays where opposing offensive coordinators find ways to isolate those guys and take advantage of that.
That's for sure. They will try.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. I mean, like, that's the one thing nobody understands. I laugh sometimes. Like, these are good coaches in the ACC. These are good coaches at Texas A&M. They get paid a lot of money too, and they're going to find ways to exploit you. Like, this is not a perfect football team. And it's going to happen sometimes to the linebackers. But I do think that improved play up front will leave those guys exposed a lot less. And that's to the benefit of the entire defense, obviously. All right, Matt. So defensive backs, okay? And this is another one that I kind of wrestled with a little bit, because I don't disagree with what you're saying, except for one thing. We are making, and I mean collectively, us, the fan base, we are making an enormous number of assumptions here about these guys, when the fact of the matter is, when you put the glasses in the drawer, okay, and you try to look at it objectively, like, we think they're all great, and we think they're going to be great, but there is not a lot of great in the racing form, so to speak. Okay, like James Williams can be great, but he also can lose his mind like he did at times last year in that one game I want to say North Carolina or whatever, where he piled up all those penalties and was making all those mistakes. James Williams missed a hell of a lot of tackles in the open field last year, did not have a good tackling grade. So we are projecting him to be great because we think he's great. We know he's great, but the racing form doesn't say great yet. Avante Williams hasn't done a dang thing. Like he hasn't done anything in college football to where we should be calling him great. We see how athletic he is. We see that he loves to make big hits and stuff. That doesn't make him great in a college football game against a decent team and a good quarterback. We know that he has issues covering in coverage at times. And so, we got to see it. Cam Kinchens, we think he's we think he's a baller. I think he's great. Cam Kinchens might be the best of the three now in terms of pure football player. But he hasn't proven it yet in games on the field. So my point is this. You can say the same thing. Tyreek Stevenson, great year at cornerback. Nobody's putting him on an All-American team, okay? Corey Couch struggled last year, had a good camp. We think he's coming back. Same situation. DJ Ivey, what's he, fifth year? Struggled just about every year. Now, all of a sudden, he's having a great training camp. We think new DJ Ivey, he's going to be great this year. He might be. We hope he will be. Not guaranteed. So my point is, as you read the column, you'll see what I'm talking about. But, there's no guarantees. I put defensive back as good as we think they are, just like offensive line, we think they will be better. I put it all in the same category, okay? And they got to prove it. It's one of the wild cards of the season. Your closing thoughts, Matt?
No, I mean, look, read the column. Gary picked him for 9 games. I'm picking him to win 9. I'm picking him to win 12 because I'm the optimist. And we'll see. I just recommend everyone read the column. We talked about it a little bit here, but read the column and share your thoughts on the message boards because that's what it's all about. It's time to show out, man. Tomorrow's the first game. Let's see what happens.
All right, we will have our blockbuster coverage at CaneSport.com tomorrow. As always, we are introducing a new element to the equation. We are going to have the CaneSport post-game show, and we have contracted Dave Lamont, veteran ESPN broadcaster, total pro. He's been doing college football for a long time, understands the game like no other, and he will be the host of our post-game show. Bruce Warner is going to be on there. I will be coming on from the stadiums during the course of the season. On the way out of the stadiums, whatever. I will be part of the show. Matt might pop in sometimes. We'll all be participants, and you guys will be able to call in and give your opinions. And we're really looking forward to introducing this CaneSport post-game show that we are planning on launching tomorrow after the Bethune-Cookman game. So that's going to do it for now for Good Morning CaneSport. Thank you, as always, for starting your day with us. For Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Get fired up, Canes fans. It's time to go to the Rock tomorrow. We'll see you there. Goodbye, everybody.